You know how in movies, falling in love with a vampire is all sparks, eternal devotion, and sparkling skin? Yeah, my reality was a little different. Less glitter, more existential dread. Let me tell you about Julian. I met him at a late-night poetry reading. He was magnetic, with eyes that seemed to hold centuries of secrets and a voice that could calm a storm. He was pale, sure, but I just thought he was anemic or maybe just really, really into the goth aesthetic. He was always cold to the touch, and our dates were exclusively after sunset. Looking back, the signs were all there, like a neon sign blinking vampire, but I was too smit to notice. He'd talk about history like he lived it, describing the court of Louis XIV with a familiarity that was both thrilling and unsettling. I thought he was just a history buff with a vivid imagination. He was charming, intelligent, and made me feel like I was the only person in the world. Who wouldn't fall for that the first time he hinted at what he was? We were stargazing. He said, "I've seen these same stars wheel across the sky for longer than your country has existed." I laughed it off. "You're so poetic," I told him. He just smiled, a sad, knowing smile that I didn't understand at the time. The big reveal wasn't some dramatic, Fangs bared moment in a dark alley. It was quiet. We were in my apartment, and I'd cut my finger while chopping vegetables. The scent of blood filled the air, and his whole demeanor changed. His eyes, usually a soft gray, turned dark, intense. He flinched away, his body rigid. That's when he told me. He explained everything: the endless nights, the thirst, the solitude. My first reaction wasn't fear. It was a strange mix of shock and, well, pity. He looked so lonely, so burdened by his own existence. And in that moment, my stupid, romantic heart decided it didn't matter. Love conquers all, right, wrong, so wrong. At first, it was exciting. The secret was our own little world. We had the nights to ourselves, exploring the city when everyone else was asleep. It felt like we were the main characters in some epic fantasy. But the novelty wears off fast when you realize your boyfriend can't go to brunch, or a beach picnic, or a matinee movie. My world, which was once filled with sunshine and spontaneous daytime adventures, started to shrink. It became confined to the hours between dusk and dawn. My friends wondered why I'd become a hermit. I made up excuses. "Oh, I'm just a night owl now," or "I'm working on a big project." The lies started to pile up, creating a wall between me and everyone I cared about. And let's talk about the food situation. Imagine trying to have a romantic dinner with someone who just watches you eat. Julian would sit there, nursing a glass of what looked like red wine. It wasn't wine while I ate my pasta. It was awkward. Every meal felt like a performance. And the constant worrying was exhausting. The thirst he mentioned wasn't just a quaint, poetic term. It was a real, primal struggle for him. I saw the pain in his eyes every time he was near me, the constant battle for control. It was terrifying. I started wearing turtlenecks, not for fashion, but because the sight of my own pulse beating in my neck seemed to cause him physical pain. How can you build a future with someone you're constantly afraid might, accidentally eat you? The immortality thing is also not as cool as it sounds. Julian had loved and lost countless times. He carried the grief of centuries. Every story he told was tinged with loss. He'd outlived friends, families, entire civilizations. He was a walking museum of sorrow, and he looked at me with my fleeting, fragile human life like I was a beautiful flower he knew would wilt. He tried to hide it, but I could see the preemptive grief in his eyes. He was already mourning me. He couldn't fully invest, couldn't let himself love me completely, because he knew he would have to say goodbye. That's a heavy cloud to live under. Our forever was mine until I get old and die. The romance started to curdle into resentment. I missed the sun on my skin. I missed laughing with my friends over lunch. I missed feeling safe. I started to feel like I wasn't a person anymore, just a blood bag with feelings. I was a temporary distraction in his never-ending existence. I became irritable and depressed. The vibrant, happy person I used to be was fading, replaced by a pale, nocturnal creature who was afraid of her own boyfriend. The magic was gone, replaced by a harsh, cold reality. A human and a vampire can't build a life together, not a real one. One of you will always have to live in the shadows, and that person was me. The breakup was the hardest thing I've ever done. It was a tearful conversation under a full moon, very on brand for him. I told him I couldn't do it anymore. I needed my life back. I needed the sun. To his credit, he understood. He didn't fight it. He just looked at me with those ancient, sad eyes and said, I was selfish to think I could keep you. He told me he loved me enough to let me go, to let me live a full, warm, human life. It was heartbreakingly noble, and for a second, I almost took it all back, but I knew I couldn't. We said goodbye, and he disappeared into the night, just as quietly as he'd entered my life. For months afterward, I felt like a ghost. I had to relearn how to live in the daylight. The sun actually hurt my eyes at first. I reconnected with my friends, who were thankfully very understanding, even if they didn't know the whole insane story. I told them I'd just gotten out of a really controlling, weird relationship, which wasn't even a lie. Slowly, I started to feel like myself again. I went to the beach and just sat there, letting the sun warm my face, and I cried. I cried for the love I'd lost, but I also cried with relief. So if you ever meet a charming, mysterious stranger who only wants to hang out at night and has an aversion to garlic bread, maybe think twice. Falling in love with a vampire isn't a fairy tale. It's a lesson in sacrifice, loneliness, and realizing that some things, like sunshine and a normal lifespan, are profoundly underrated. It's a great story to tell, I guess, but a terrible one to live. Take it from me, the real magic is in the daylight. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever been in a relationship that made you feel like you were losing yourself, you're not alone. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about my very weird life. See you next time.